The moment Ian Foster stepped into the elegant penthouse suite, the din of the party faded to white noise. Through a sea of designer suits and cocktail dresses, his gaze locked onto a woman laughing near the floor-to-ceiling windows, Manhattan's skyline framing her like a work of art. Her dark hair cascaded down her back, catching the light with every movement as she gestured animatedly to his oldest friend, Marcus, who was playing host for the evening. Ian hadn't wanted to come tonight. Running an international shipping empire left little time for socializing, even for his childhood friend's 35th birthday. But Marcus had been persistent, insisting Ian needed a night away from spreadsheets and conference calls. "Ian, you actually showed up." Marcus's voice boomed as he spotted Ian by the entrance. He broke away from the conversation, pulling the mystery woman along by the elbow. "About time you joined the land of the living." Ian straightened his custom-tailored suit jacket, a reflex from years of board meetings. "Some of us have companies to run, Mark. Some of us know how to delegate," Marcus countered with a grin. "I want you to meet Zara. Zara Valenti, this is Ian Foster, the workaholic I've been telling you about." She extended her hand, and Ian noticed her nails were painted a deep burgundy that matched her dress. "The shipping magnate himself. Marcus has told me so much about your childhood adventures." Her voice carried a subtle musicality that caught Ian off guard. He took her hand, surprised by the firm grip. "All lies, I assure you. Even the part about you two stealing a boat when you were 12. Her eyes sparkled with mischief, especially that part. "It was a rowboat and we borrowed it." Ian found himself smiling despite his exhaustion. "And how do you know the birthday boy?" "We met at Zara's, a marine biologist," Marcus interrupted. "Her research foundation was looking for funding, and my investment firm was looking for something meaningful to support. Match made in corporate heaven. Marine biologist." Ian raised an eyebrow, genuinely intrigued. His company's recent focus on sustainable shipping practices suddenly seemed relevant. "Don't look so surprised," Zara said. "Not all scientists are locked in laboratories. Some of us clean up rather nicely for parties." Before Ian could respond, Marcus was pulled away by other guests, leaving them alone in the crowded room. "So," Ian said, reaching for 2 champagne flutes from a passing server, offering one to Zara. "Marine biology. What's your specialty?" "Coral reef rehabilitation. Particularly around shipping lanes." She accepted the champagne, her fingers brushing his. "Your industry and my research have more in common than you might think." "Is that criticism I hear?" Ian asked, though there was no edge to his voice. "Not criticism. Opportunity." She took a sip, maintaining eye contact over the rim of her glass. "Your company has quite the reputation, Foster International Shipping, one of the few corporate giants actually investing in environmental protection." Ian felt a flutter of pride. "You've done your homework." "I always research before I attend a party. Never know who you might meet." For the first time in years, Ian found himself forgetting about the constant barrage of emails awaiting his attention. He was captivated by Zara's passionate descriptions of her work, the way her eyes lit up when discussing ocean conservation. They migrated to a quieter corner of the penthouse, their conversation flowing effortlessly from marine ecosystems to art, literature, and back to business. "Your foundation sounds impressive," Ian said after she described their latest coral transplantation project. "But I'm curious why you're seeking private funding rather than government grants." "Government funding moves at the pace of, well, government," Zara replied. "The oceans can't wait for bureaucracy. Private partnerships let us move faster, though finding the right partners isn't easy." Ian nodded thoughtfully. "Companies that actually care about more than their bottom line are rare, speaking from experience. Let's just say I've sat through enough board meetings watching men twice my age argue against environmental initiatives because they might cost an extra percentage point. Yet Foster International is known for its green initiatives." Ian shrugged. "Being CEO has its privileges. When my father retired 5 years ago, I made some changes, not all of them popular. 50 ships converting to low-emission systems isn't just some change, Zara said, surprising him with her knowledge. That's a statement. The party continued around them, but they remained in their own bubble, exchanging ideas and experiences. Ian couldn't remember the last time he'd connected with someone so quickly. "Would you like to see the view from the terrace?" he asked, noticing how the city lights reflected in her eyes. The night air was crisp as they stepped outside. Other guests huddled in small groups, but Ian led Zara to a more secluded corner where the Empire State Building was perfectly framed between two skyscrapers. "I sometimes forget how beautiful this city is," Ian admitted. "Too busy looking at screens to look up. That's the tragedy of success," Zara said softly. "Working so hard for a view you never stop to enjoy." Ian turned to study her profile. "You sound like you're speaking from experience." "My research takes me to some of the most beautiful places on Earth. But sometimes I'm so focused on collecting data that I forget to just experience it." Their conversation continued under the stars, moving from professional to personal. Ian learned that Zara had grown up in coastal Maine, the daughter of a fisherman and a high school science teacher. Her path to becoming a marine biologist had been paved with scholarships and determination. "And now you're saving the world's oceans," Ian said. Zara laughed, a sound that seemed to cut through the ambient noise of the city. "One coral at a time, it's hardly saving the world." "It matters," Ian said simply. "What you're doing matters." A comfortable silence fell between them as they looked out over the city. Ian found himself acutely aware of her presence beside him, the subtle scent of her perfume, the way she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. The moment was interrupted by Marcus, who burst onto the terrace with his characteristic energy. "There you are, hiding my guests away, Foster." "Just showing Zara the view," Ian replied, surprising himself with the disappointment he felt at the interruption. "Well, it's cake time. Can't have a birthday without forcing everyone to sing awkwardly while I pretend to be surprised." As they followed Marcus inside, Zara leaned close to Ian. "Is he always this exuberant?" "Since kindergarten," Ian confirmed with a smile. After the cake and more mingling, Ian found himself checking his watch with regret. It was nearing midnight and he had an early meeting with Chinese investors. "Leaving already?" Zara asked, appearing at his side as he collected his coat. "Unfortunately, early meeting tomorrow, of course." The shipping magnate never rests. There was no judgment in her tone, only understanding. Ian hesitated, then pulled out his business card. "I'd like to continue our conversation about your foundation. Perhaps Foster International could be one of those private partners you're looking for." Zara accepted the card, her fingers lingering against his. "I'd like that, both the partnership and the conversation. I'll have my assistant set something up next week. Or," Zara said, pulling out her phone, "you could call me directly. CEO privilege, right?" Ian felt a smile tugging at his lips as he entered his number into her phone. CEO privilege indeed. The next morning, Ian sat in his corner office overlooking the harbor, reviewing contracts for a new fleet of eco-friendly vessels. His focus kept drifting to thoughts of Zara, her passion, her intelligence, the way she challenged him without intimidation. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Thought CEOs started their days with coffee, not daydreaming, enjoying the harbor view. Zara. Ian glanced out his window, then back at his phone, a smile forming. She must be on one of the research vessels that frequented the harbor. Caught me. Better view than usual today. Dinner tonight to discuss that partnership? Her response came quickly. Partnership discussion requires proper setting. The Sea Glass, 8 p.m. The Sea Glass was an upscale restaurant known for its sustainable seafood menu and stunning waterfront location. Ian canceled his usual working dinner and confirmed the reservation personally. That evening, as Ian entered the restaurant, he spotted Zara already seated at a window table. She wore a simpler dress than the night before, but somehow looked even more striking. Her hair was styled in loose waves, and a silver pendant in the shape of a whale's tail hung at her throat. "You're punctual," she noted as he sat down. Rare quality these days. Time is the most valuable commodity in my business, Ian replied. I try not to waste others. Their conversation flowed as naturally as it had the night before, moving seamlessly between Zara's foundation needs and personal anecdotes. Ian found himself sharing stories he rarely told about taking over the company at 29 after his father's unexpected retirement, about the pressure of preserving a family legacy while trying to modernize a traditional industry. It couldn't have been easy, Zara said, making those environmental changes against resistance. Ian twirled his wine glass thoughtfully. The hardest decisions often lead to the most significant progress. My grandfather built this company with 17 sailors and 1 cargo ship. Now we have thousands of employees and a global fleet. But what's the point of success if you're destroying the very world you operate in? That's refreshingly enlightened for someone in your position. Don't give me too much credit, Ian said with a self-deprecating smile. Sustainable practices are good business too. Customers care more than ever about their carbon footprint. Ah, so it's not pure altruism. Zara's eyes twinkled with teasing. Let's call it enlightened self-interest. The best business decisions benefit everyone. As they shared dessert, a dark chocolate tart that the chef insisted they try, Ian realized this didn't feel like a business meeting at all. It felt like a date. Your foundation, he said, bringing himself back to the ostensible purpose of their dinner. I'd like to see a formal proposal, but I'm already interested. Foster International could provide not just funding but logistical support for your research stations. Zara's expression brightened. That would be incredible. Transportation is one of our biggest expenses. Consider it done. And I'd like to see your work firsthand sometime. You'd leave your corner office to visit a coral reef. Zara looked genuinely surprised. I do occasionally leave Manhattan, Ian said dryly. Despite rumors to the contrary, when the check came, Ian reached for it automatically. This was supposed to be a business meeting, Zara reminded him, her hand moving toward the bill. It was, Ian agreed, smoothly capturing the check. And Foster International is pleased to host the Valenti Foundation for discussions. Zara narrowed her eyes playfully. Very smooth, Mr. Foster. Outside the restaurant, the night air carried the scent of salt water from the harbor. Ian found himself reluctant to end the evening. I have a research vessel leaving for the Caribbean in 3 weeks, Zara said, as if reading his thoughts. If you were serious about seeing our work. 3 weeks, Ian repeated, mentally reviewing his schedule. A corporate retreat in Japan, board meetings, quarterly reviews. I'll make it work. Zara's smile was worth whatever schedule juggling he would need to do. I'll hold you to that. Their goodbye felt weighted with possibility as Ian helped her into a taxi. He found himself watching until the taillights disappeared around a corner. The next morning, Ian called his executive assistant into his office. Patricia, I need you to clear my schedule 3 weeks from now. For about 5 days. Patricia, who had been managing his calendar with military precision for 7 years, actually dropped her tablet. I'm sorry, did you just ask for vacation time? Not vacation. A field visit. I'll be joining a research vessel in the Caribbean to observe marine conservation efforts. Potential partnership opportunity. Patricia looked skeptical but made the note. And this wouldn't have anything to do with the marine biologist you asked me to research this morning. The Valenti Foundation has impressive credentials, Ian replied, keeping his expression neutral. And Dr. Valenti's credentials are particularly impressive, according to your extensive Google search history. Ian gave her a warning look but couldn't maintain it. Just clear the schedule, Patricia. Over the next 3 weeks, Ian and Zara's partnership discussions continued over dinners, long phone calls, and one impromptu Sunday afternoon when they ran into each other at the Museum of Natural History. Ian had been there reviewing a potential exhibition sponsorship. Zara had been consulting on an ocean conservation display. They spent hours wandering through the halls, Zara adding commentary to exhibits that Ian found far more fascinating than the museum placards. By the time they reached the planetarium, Ian had forgotten entirely about the sponsorship meeting. "You know," Zara said as they stood beneath the projected stars, "sailors used to navigate by these same constellations." "Some still do," Ian replied. "When technology fails, the stars remain constant." Zara turned to look at him, her expression curious. "You surprise me, Ian Foster. I expected a typical CEO, all spreadsheets and profit margins. Disappointed, the opposite." Her hand found his in the darkness of the planetarium, a simple touch that sent electricity through his body. When they parted that evening, there was a shift in the air between them, an acknowledgement that whatever was happening had moved beyond professional interest. The night before Ian was set to join Zara's research expedition, Marcus called. "So," his friend said without preamble, "you and Zara, huh?" Ian sighed, phone pressed to his ear as he packed tropical weight clothing into a suitcase. "Your subtlety is, as always, appreciated." "Subtlety is overrated. Details, Foster. I need details." "You're taking time off work for the first time in 5 years to join her research trip. That's serious." "It's a business partnership," Ian insisted, though the words sounded hollow even to his own ears. "Right, a partnership. That's what the kids are calling it these days." Ian couldn't help but laugh. "I'm hanging up now." "Wait." Marcus's tone shifted to something more sincere. "I'm happy for you, man, really. When I invited her as my plus one, I had no idea you two would hit it off like this." "Your plus one?" Ian paused in his packing. "I thought she was a foundation you were funding." "Well, yes, that too, but she was actually my date to the party, sort of. We went out a few times, nothing serious. Didn't click romantically, but I thought she was amazing enough to include in my birthday celebration." Ian felt a strange twist in his stomach. "You dated her, went on 2 dates, realized we were better as friends and business associates. Why, does that bother you?" Ian considered the question honestly. "No," he said finally, "it doesn't. Good. Because I've never seen you like this about anyone, and for what it's worth, she hasn't stopped talking about you either." After hanging up, Ian sat on the edge of his bed, processing this new information. The fact that Zara had briefly dated Marcus didn't bother him, but it did make him reflect on how quickly she had become important to him. In less than a month, Zara Valenti had disrupted his carefully ordered life in the best possible way. He found himself checking his phone for her messages, rearranging meetings to make time for dinners together, thinking about her during board meetings. When was the last time he had been this captivated by someone? Had he ever? The next morning, Ian boarded his company's private jet to Miami, where he would meet Zara and her research team. The anticipation of seeing her again made him feel like a teenager, not the 34-year-old CEO of a global corporation. Zara was waiting when his car pulled up to the dock where her research vessel was moored, a sleek, modern ship equipped with laboratories and diving equipment. She wore cargo shorts and a light blue shirt with her foundation's logo, her hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. "Captain Foster," she greeted him with a grin. "Ready to get your sea legs? I practically grew up on ships," he reminded her, pulling his duffel bag from the car. "My father believed in learning the business from the deck up." "Good, because this isn't a luxury cruise. Everyone works on the Coral Seeker." The next 5 days were unlike anything in Ian's regular routine. He dove alongside Zara and her team, witnessing firsthand the delicate process of transplanting coral fragments to damaged reefs. He helped collect water samples, assisted with equipment maintenance, and spent evenings on deck reviewing the day's findings. Seeing Zara in her element was revelatory. In the water, she moved with graceful precision, her hands gentle as she worked with fragile coral structures. Above deck, she led her team with clear authority tempered by genuine respect for each researcher's expertise. On their 3rd night at sea, Ian found Zara alone on the observation deck, staring up at a sky brilliant with stars untainted by city lights. "Everything okay?" he asked, joining her at the railing. "Perfect," she replied. I was just thinking how strange life is sometimes. If Marcus hadn't invited me to his party, if I hadn't forced myself to go." Their eyes met in the darkness, and Ian felt the same electric current that had been building between them since that first night. "I need to tell you something," he said. "Marcus mentioned that you two went out briefly." Zara nodded. "Twice. We realized quickly we were better as friends." "Does that bother you?" That's exactly what he asked, and no, it doesn't. I was just surprised. "I should have mentioned it," Zara admitted, but it seemed so insignificant compared to. She gestured vaguely between them, compared to this. Ian moved closer, his hand finding hers on the railing. "Yes, this." Zara turned to face him fully. "Whatever this is." The moment stretched between them, filled with possibility. Then Ian did what he had wanted to do since that first night at the party. He leaned in and kissed her. Her lips were soft against his, her body warm as she moved into his embrace. The kiss deepened, and Ian felt something shift inside him, a certainty taking root. When they finally broke apart, both slightly breathless, Zara laughed softly. "I've been wondering when you'd do that." "I've been wanting to since Marcus's party," Ian confessed. "But I wasn't sure if you saw this as purely professional." "Professional?" Zara raised an eyebrow. "Ian, I've spent the last 3 weeks finding every excuse to see you. I even went to that maritime industry reception you mentioned, and I hate those corporate events. I thought you were there for networking." "I was networking with exactly one person." Her fingers traced the line of his jaw. "You." They spent the remainder of the voyage in a state of heightened awareness of each other. During the day, they maintained professionalism in front of her team, but evenings were spent in conversation that grew increasingly personal, punctuated by kisses that grew increasingly passionate. By the time they returned to Miami, Ian knew with certainty that what he felt for Zara was unlike anything he'd experienced before. It wasn't just attraction or intellectual stimulation, though both were abundant. It was a sense of having found someone who challenged and complimented him in equal measure. As they parted at the airport, Ian to return to New York and Zara to prepare her formal proposal for Foster International's partnership, he found himself reluctant to leave. "I have board meetings for the next 2 days," he said, holding both her hands in his. "But after that I want to see you in New York or Maine or wherever you'll be." "I'll be in New York," Zara assured him. "The proposal won't write itself. Have dinner with me, not to discuss the proposal." "Just dinner?" Zara's smile lit her entire face. "Just dinner. I'd like that." The 2 days of meetings felt interminable. Ian found himself checking his phone constantly, exchanging messages with Zara that had nothing to do with coral reefs or shipping routes. By the time Friday evening arrived, he was practically counting the minutes until their 8 p.m. reservation. Zara arrived at the restaurant in a simple green dress that made her eyes look like emeralds. Ian felt his breath catch as she approached their table. "You look beautiful," he said simply. "And you look exhausted," she replied with characteristic directness. "Rough meetings, the usual corporate battles, nothing I can't handle." They ordered wine, and Ian found himself relaxing for the first time in days. With Zara, he didn't need to be the unflappable CEO, he could just be Ian. "I've been thinking," he said as they shared dessert, "about us." Zara set down her fork. "That sounds serious." "It is, at least it is to me." Ian took a breath. "I know this has happened quickly, but I've never felt this way about anyone. When I'm with you, everything else fades into the background, and when we're apart, all I can think about is when I'll see you again." Zara's expression softened. "I feel the same way. It's terrifying and wonderful all at once. So we're doing this. A relationship, not just a business partnership." "I think we've been doing it since the moment we met," Zara said. "But yes, let's make it official." The months that followed were a balancing act of demanding careers and deepening feelings. Ian found ways to incorporate visits to Zara's research sites into his business travel. Zara spent increasing amounts of time in New York as Foster International became the Valenti Foundation's primary corporate partner. They navigated the challenges of their busy lives with open communication, and unwavering support for each other's work. Ian marveled at how seamlessly Zara fit into his world, and how she expanded it beyond the corporate environment he had inhabited for so long. 6 months after their first meeting at Marcus's birthday party, Ian invited Zara to dinner at his penthouse apartment. He had spent the day with his executive chef, planning a menu that incorporated sustainable seafood and elements from Zara's favorite coastal Maine dishes. "To what do I owe this culinary extravaganza?" Zara asked as they finished the main course. "Not that I'm complaining." Ian reached across the table for her hand. "I wanted tonight to be special, because you're special, Zara. These past months have been the happiest of my life." Zara squeezed his hand. "Mine too. When my father handed me the company, he told me that true success isn't measured in profits or acquisitions. It's measured in what you build that lasts." Ian stood, pulling Zara to her feet and leading her to the balcony that overlooked the harbor. "I thought he meant the company legacy. But now, I understand he was talking about this, about finding someone to build a life with." Under the same stars that had witnessed their first kiss aboard the Coral Seeker, Ian knelt on one knee and removed a small box from his pocket. "Zara Valenti, I love your brilliant mind, your passionate heart, and your fearless spirit. Will you marry me?" Zara's eyes filled with tears as she pulled him to his feet. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." The ring, a sapphire surrounded by diamonds that reminded Ian of the Caribbean waters where they had first kissed, slid perfectly onto her finger. "Marcus is going to be insufferable about this," Zara said with a laugh as she admired it, "taking credit for introducing us." "We'll let him have that one," Ian conceded. "Small price to pay for finding you." They were married 6 months later in a ceremony that combined elegance with environmental consciousness. The reception was held at the New York Aquarium, with proceeds from the event establishing a new conservation fund. Marcus, serving as best man, couldn't resist mentioning in his toast that he had unknowingly brought together his best friend and his former date. "Talk about a successful +1, he quipped to laughter from the guests. As Ian and Zara shared their first dance, he marveled at the unexpected journey that had brought them together. "If you had told me a year ago that I would meet my future wife at Marcus's birthday party, I would have said you were crazy. And if you had told me I'd fall in love with a shipping magnate, I would have laughed in your face," Zara replied, her eyes sparkling with happiness. "Sometimes the best journeys are the ones we never planned." "To unplanned journeys," Ian murmured, pulling her closer. "And to the incredible future we'll build together." In the years that followed, Ian and Zara created a partnership that transcended both their professional collaboration and their personal bond. The Foster Valenti Ocean Conservation Initiative became a global leader in marine protection, combining Ian's business acumen with Zara's scientific expertise. They balanced their work with a rich home life, eventually welcoming twins who grew up with an appreciation for both corporate responsibility and environmental stewardship. And on each anniversary, they returned to the observation deck of the Coral Seeker, which Ian had eventually purchased and refitted as a state-of-the-art research vessel to stand under the stars where they had first acknowledged what they meant to each other. "Best business partnership I ever entered," Ian would say, his arm around his wife's waist, and Zara would always reply, "Best +1 I ever agreed to be."